All right. Before I get into how I put all this together and showed you all the parts and pieces, I thought I'd do a little bit of a pre-op here and tell you that although everything works out nicely in the end, and I love the music the variety of music that I was able to put into this, because I didn't like the original crappy 10-second sound that was in this. Everything works nice, except I've had it hanging on the wall now about a day after I did all my modifications on it and enjoying everything. I noticed that it's been losing a lot of time. And as you get in, if you want to continue watching this, you'll see that I have a big speaker that I put in the back of that thing. And after some tests and some trials and tribulations and some figuring out, I figured out that the magnetic fields on the magnet on that speaker is interfering with the clock movement. So it's really slowing down the time. I'm losing about, I don't know, it's got to be a couple hours a day. It's running so slow, and it's because of those EMFs coming off the back of the magnet. So I'm going to have to redo this. I'll call this modification a failure because of that, even though everything is working nicely and running well, and I like the music coming out of it. It's kind of useless because it doesn't keep time. So it's not sad. I've got some ideas. I'm thinking about maybe putting a miniature Bluetooth transmitter in there and transmitting the music to an outside speaker, which would enable me to get nicer cuts and nicer music in stereo even. I could put it through a nice speaker, maybe two speakers, mount the speaker up there on top in the corner someplace or off to the side. I could even have the subwoofer if I wanted. So that'll be my modification of the modification. So if you guys want to see how I put it all together, this first modification, feel free to continue watching. I'll make a part 2 once I get all my modifications done and everything working properly, this thing keeping time. So my second video will be of the modifications of the modification. So I hope you guys stick around and watch the rest of the video. It's interesting how I took everything apart, the soundboards that I used, and how it turned out with the different sound clips I loaded into it. And so I hope you enjoy what follows. Hey guys, Dave Shopius here. Thought I'd make a little video of what I'm up to now. Usually I'm cobbling away on Lost in Space robot parts and making robots and things like that. You've probably seen some of my other videos, maybe, if you subscribe. What I'm doing now is probably taking a break from that because I needed to organize my thoughts and get a little creative juices going and just get away from that kind of stuff for a few days. This is something totally different. What I did here is I bought a Nightmare from Christmas Cuckoo clock from the Bradford exchange. It's really a work of art. It's beautiful, it's solid, put together nicely, works well, lights up, the LEDs light up. I'll show you that in a second. Zero comes out of the perch up there, and all he does is sit there, and then when everything's done it goes back in, but that's cool. I was truly disappointed with the sound quality. It sucked. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It just sucked. It sounded like it was inside of a matchbox and sealed up underwater. And it just had that little bitty speaker. This is it right here, that sat inside. And the problem is not so much the speaker, even though it is small. It's this control board here that they have everything jammed on. I'm sure they have the sound stored on that. It's probably a little Japanese cheap little trigger. It does a lot of things though. It not only plays a 10-second clip, it also triggers the lights in zero, the motor in zero, and that's it's really kind of cool. But the sound sucked. It's just, I don't know if it was the recording sucked, or the sound clip itself, or the amplifier on this board. But I figured, you know, if I can build a B9 robot, I can make this thing sound better. So I took it apart, just pull all the guts out of it. You can see the back of it right here. Everything's kind of laying there. It's an organized mess. It's well put together. However, sorry about that. if it wasn't for the sound, I wouldn't have messed with it. But I'm having fun here. I figured they have something with all the work I did on my B9. I know they have stuff for sound systems that's small and compact that does a lot of this stuff, and I found it. Adafruit puts out this little board here. It's a little sound board. It's called a Mini FX. A Sound FX Mini board. It's got 16 megabytes of onboard storage, and you can store sound clips or songs or anything else on there. It's pretty small. It's about 2 inches wide, about 3 inches length. It comes with header pins that you can solder in, and the thing is, it doesn't have an amplifier, so it won't push any kind of speakers other than headphones. And I wanted to push a bigger speaker. So they also sell this little guy here. It's a little amp is all it is. Just a little 3-watt amp. That'll push a 3-watt speaker, which is what this is. But I didn't like it. It didn't have full enough sound, so I got this guy here. It's more of an, let's see, this is a 4 ohm. I think this is an 8-watt speaker. As long as you're, I don't know a lot about sound systems, but I know that as long as you have like 8 or 4 ohm speakers, this thing will push it. And if your watts are bigger than what it is, it'll be okay too. It just won't be as loud. It just won't. Well, I'm not going to say because I don't know. It just works. Sorry about that. So it sounds good. It really does. It sounds a whole lot better than the piece of crap that was playing out of that thing. Pardon my French. So what's nice about this is I'm really excited, is that I can store up to like 16 megabytes of sound on there, but they got to be split up into, I believe they got to be split up into clips. And so I'm going to put 12 clips on there, and you can trigger them different ways, one at a time, randomly, one on each pin. Here there's 11 pins. I'm sorry, there's 8 pins in this one. This is the Mini. They got a regular one that has 12 pins. But I'm going to just trigger everything off of one pin and make it a lot simpler than that. Just make things simple. And let's see if I can't trigger this without burning it up. It's just so each one of these pins here is a different sound trigger. And like I said, I got 2 files loaded into it right now. I don't know if you can hear that right. I've got the volume control wired into it right now. Gives me external volume control. It's kind of cool. So that would have played as long as the clip I wanted as I recorded into it. So that was, I don't know, 15-20 seconds. Right now I have them set this thing up on random, and I'm going to try to trigger the same trigger and see what happens.
A B9 robot is truly never done.
There you go. You hear a little crackler because I got a loose connection here somewhere, but it's really good. There it is again. Okay, I'm going to stop that. You get the idea. What I need to do now is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these pins off of here and all these wires off of here, and I'm not going to use these connectors here. It's just problems. I'm going to take these header pins. Well, actually, I have another one here I'm going to use. I'm going to wire, I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to wire everything directly right to the board. And so I have nice good connections, and everything will be compact. And they will fit into the back here in different places. The only thing I'm going to have to do here is maybe make a bunch of holes up and down here, or maybe even cut this out and put some speaker material over the top so the sound will get out. I'm not sure how much that I'm going to do, maybe a little bit on both sides, kind of like what they did here, but up and down through here just to let the sound out. And then the speaker will be mounted in the back, pointing inwards, because I don't want it facing the wall. And then hopefully everything will work and it'll be fine. If you're interested, this is the little amplifier from Adafruit. Right here, there's all the numbers. This is the Mini Audio FX board, 16 megabytes. And this is my speaker I'm using. Fits right in there. I had a hard time finding one that wasn't too big that would fit. And one more thing. I need a way to trigger the sounds. So what I'm going to do is I found a spot on this board. If you recall, I said that 0 came out first and there was a long pause between 0 coming out and everything playing. The lights coming on. I want the sound to start playing right as 0 comes out. So I'm going to wire it into 0's wires here. Okay, these are the wires. These are just under 5 volts, and I'm going to wire a little single pole double throw relay into that. This is rated for 2 amps, and it triggers up to 5 volts. So the weird thing about this one is the coil is in the center, and the single throw is on one side and the double throw is on the other side. So anyway, schematics will show you that. And here's the information for this one. It's an NTE. Let's see if we can see that. There it is. R75D1/5. So that's a single pole, double throw, 5 volt DC relay. So that's what's going to be triggering the sounds from this board here, from these wires. So the only other compromise I had to do is I am going to be running this board off of AC. I'm going to have this wall wart coming into the back of the clock, which will probably be a little unsightly, but I can hide it somehow, maybe paint it white to blend in with the wall, or if I have it on a wall with nothing behind it in a closet, I can maybe go right into the closet. You'll never see it. But if I have a battery pack on this, it won't give me as many functions as I want. I can't play different songs on different hours. I can just play, if I have a battery pack, it'll just be one song or one sound every hour, and I kind of want to take advantage of this board. If I have a battery pack on it, it'll run out in a couple of days. So I want this thing to last. So it'll I won't have to worry about power. Okay, so I'll be back later, and when I get it all wired up, and we'll see how it works. Have a nice one. See you on the other side. We'll be right back with more stuff. Okay, I'm back. One thing I didn't show you that I want to before I start wiring this all together is how this thing works and the delay that was in it between zero coming out and the lights and the music playing. So let me, you don't want to run these by your finger here because they say it meshes up the movement. So I'm going to reach behind it and find the dial. Oh, there it is right there. And when it gets to 12, you'll see 0 pop out, and there'll be about a 3-second delay before everything else comes up. I thought that sucked. Okay, there's 0. Now, there was the delay. And it plays for 10 seconds. Right now, that really crappy music would be playing. And then it would go off. And 0 there, 0 to retract. So, I'm gonna get rid of that delay. The music will start playing as soon as 0 comes out because I'm wiring into his wires. It'll trigger my sound system over here, and well, it won't be over here. It'll be in the clock. So it'll play a really nice selection of music every time it hits 12. Okay, hopefully. Keep your fingers crossed. We'll be back with more stuff. Bye. Okay, I'm back. I haven't really gotten anything installed yet, but I've done a bunch of prep work. I remember last time I promised to show you guys what this thing looked like when I activated it with the lights and 0 coming out. You can see 0 is right there. He goes out a door, and there's my clock movement. And here is the little board I was telling you about on the back of the battery pack. That board operates, those batteries operate that little board is all. That's 3 AA's, triple A's rather, about 4.5 volts DC. And that movement takes a 1 AA battery, which is 1.5 volts. So the lights and 0 are operated by this battery pack and that board. So let me pull this up here and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you'll see 0 comes out at the top first and nothing happens, and then about 3 seconds later the lights will come on, and the LEDs and the pumpkins and the ghosts, and it's kind of cool. But like I said, what I don't like is the fact that the lights come on and this music starts playing 3 seconds after 0 comes out. That I can't really do nothing about the lights right now. I don't want to. That's okay. I want the music to start playing as soon as 0 comes out, and that's what my little Adafruit soundboard is going to do for me. Plus, it'll give me a lot of different sound clips to play at the top of each hour instead of one crappy one. So I'm trying to find that little dial in the back now. Let me see here. There it is. Can't do it by hand. They say not to spin these arms by hand. So I'll bring it around. Again, you'll see 0 pop out at the top of the hour. And now count it. About 3 seconds. That's when the music will start playing. It's really kind of cool. It plays for 10 seconds and shuts down. Yep, there it goes. Okay, now every top of every hour that happens. So, again, what I'm doing is I'm adding an extra soundboard in there and taking the sound away from this little board. But this little board is going to trigger the new soundboard through a relay, like I said before. Okay, what I've done also since I left you guys is I defaced the side of my clock. You can see I dug some holes in the side here. I know the true collectors are probably crapping their pants right now. So that I've defaced the collectible. But I got to ask you, is Bradford Exchange stuff, is it really collectible? I mean, there's so many of them out there. They're cool. They're nice. Again, this is well built. This is all poured resin. Collectible? I don't know. So I'm making it usable and enjoyable. So again, what I did is I pull away here. I apologize. I dug these holes in the side of these panels here just so the sound will get out, because I'll have the speaker in here. And how I'm going to cover this up is I've got these little panels here cut that are going to fit right in here. When I get done, I'll hot glue them in there. And I'll tell you, doesn't that look good? It'll cover all that up, it'll let the sound out, and it blends really nicely. So, I've also prepped, well, here's what I made those little panels, that little panel there, with just some screening, some nice thick screening, and some speaker fabric, and a hot glue gun. And this is the little Dremel Trio that I used to help me dig these holes out of here. I'm going to paint this all up, so it'll look nicer. You know, I'm painting it with black, and don't really have to. You'll never see it, but it's just what I like to do. I've also prepped the electronics, the little Adafruit soundboard. I put the needed pigtails on there that I need. I remember I had headers on there. I took the headers off with my trusty desoldering iron over there. And that is awesome. That's the only way to do this work. It sure beats the Southern Soccer or braiding. I got those headers out of there without any sweat. I prepped a little amp, and I prepped my my relay. Again, this relay is going to be hooked between the existing board over there that you saw and the triggers right here, these two triggers right here. So when that board over there turns on the coil of this relay, it'll close the relay and trigger these. And a sound will play. And this, the trigger will be wired, the board is actually wired from here to 0. So I'll wire it into here, and then when 0 comes out, that board will be triggered and the sound and the music will start playing right away. And like I said, top of every hour I'm going to have it like random clips put in there. So every hour will be a different Nightmare Before Elm Street, Nightmare Before Christmas sound clip or song. So it's going to be cool when it gets done. I got plenty of room in there for all those little bitty pieces. The only thing is, like I said before, I'm going to have to wire in this, it's good up to 2 amps, 5 volt. You plug it into the wall, it converts to 5 volts up to 2 amps. This will wire into here, and it'll daisy chain through this battery pack. I'm not going to have the batteries anymore. Daisy chain through this battery pack right to the Adafruit soundboard, or else I'd have to have a separate battery pack for that one. And I'm also getting a DC converter that'll go from 5 volts all the way down to 1.5 volts, and I can get rid of this battery too. I'll wire it into that. So it'll be totally standalone. Just plug it in the wall. Won't have to ever worry about batteries again. So I will continue working now and jobbing, and I will be back with more stuff. Talk to you later. Bye. Hi everybody, I'm back. It's been a couple days, and I've been working on getting all the components installed that I showed you before. And it's really come out pretty good. I've got everything wired up. It's powered up nicely, and I've got files loaded into the soundboard, which I'll show you a little bit later. But for right now, let me go over what I've done. I've totally removed all the batteries out of this thing. As you recall, I had 3 AAAs here and another AA in here. And what I did is I wired this so I don't need that anymore. wired in a wall plug power supply. It takes AC 120, turns it into 5 volts DC, runs it into the bottom of the clock right here, which I can hide, so you won't see that. I'm going to put that through a wall, right there, so it won't be sticking down past the pendulum as it swings back and forth. Then I wired into the back of the battery pack here. As you recall, it had the control board on the back of that for the lighting effects and the old crappy sound that was coming out of it, and it drove that small little speaker. So let's talk about the drivetrain some more. After wiring in to the back of this battery pack, which controls that board also, the original soundboard and trigger board, I continued the 5 volts up and delivered it to the little Adafruit soundboard I have right here, the FX trigger. And look how small it is. It's just amazing. I mounted it on a piece of acrylic plastic and hot glued it to it just to give it a little bit of a clearance, so it wasn't mounted directly to the wood. I just liked doing it. I thought it looked neat. So the 5 volts comes in here and powers the board. Then it continues through to a little power converter, DC to DC power converter I have right there. I got from Amazon, that takes the 5 volts and bucks it down to 1.5 volts. It's adjustable. It's got a little pot on there that I can adjust that up and down. And then that in turn powers the clock movement. And what you see here is I took the battery out, and instead of wiring right to the clips or soldering right to the clips of the battery compartment, which is really hard to do, I can never get solder to stick to those things, and I end up melting the plastic because you got to get it so hard. I took a wooden dowel and cut it to size and put a couple screws on either side and soldered wire to the screws and screwed them in. So you have the 5 volts coming in, 1.5 volts coming out, and feeding the clock movement. So, and I didn't have to modify that at all, which is good. You can always put a battery back in there if you want to. So that's the powertrain, and it gets rid of all the batteries. I don't ever have to worry about batteries again. The other thing I did was pardon my voice, the sound is triggered. You can't really see it very good back in there. I don't have a flashlight handy either. So down in the bottom down there, way down in there, is back in there is that little relay that I showed you before. Maybe I can get in there a little bit better. You get some more light in there. See it right there? Anyway, with the 2 dots on it. Anyway, that's the relay that is tied in to this original board here. And when when 0 comes out, it triggers that relay, and in turn ties together the ground and the trigger on the Adafruit board. You see those two wires right there. So anyway, that relay triggers the trigger, and it makes the board respond, and it puts out an audio signal down there. You probably can't see it down there, and it comes out, and down below there is that little Adafruit amplifier that kicks the signal from here up to 3 amps, and it comes out, that amplifier runs down through the hot leg, runs down through the volume control here. These still work, by the way, which is really nice. Didn't take function well alleyway from here. I can control the volume right here. Goes back out to my new speaker that I have wired up, and I have a little Molex plug on there. That makes it easy to unplug. This is that speaker that I told you about. It's mounted right on the back plate of this thing. Sits in here nicely. And I just took the plug that I cut out, wired it, hot glued it right to the back of that magnet. So just to make it look nice. Or else you just see the back of the magnet. The speaker itself is mounted with rubber gaskets, washers, and it faces in, which the sound, like I said before, needed a place to come out. And you see I cut, it looks a little rugged, but that's inside, I painted it. I cut all those the sides out here and here, so I have a lot of openings for the sound to work out of. Plus it'll come out the bottom down there, right down there. And most of the sound actually does come out where the pendulum comes out. But like I said before, I took and made little speaker covers for those slots I cut out. So it looks really nice. It looks a little shiny now with the light hitting them, but that's just screening with speaker wire. I'm sorry, speaker fabric hot glued to them. So a lot of the sound comes out. So it works out really nice. And I have 10 sound clips that I cut from my Blu-ray Nightmare Before Christmas disc, and I have them loaded into here to play randomly whenever that relay triggers the sounds off of this soundboard when 0 comes out. So that was probably the the most frustrating parts about this, was finding 10 20-second sound clips that I wanted to use out of all that fabulous music and sound quotes off that whole hour and a half long movie. It's just some cool sound effects and stuff and I'll put this on the wall now and show you how all that sounds when it's all put together. But the nice thing about this little board, like I mentioned before, there's different ways to trigger those sounds. I just have everything hooked up to that one pin. I could have like 11 different, well in this case 9 I think, 8 or 9 different pins hooked up, but I just have one. But I have 10, it'll only let you hook up, load 10 files in there. And then you can name the files a different way and they'll play either sequentially or randomly off that one pin whenever it's triggered. So, but to find, I had originally got 20 that I really liked, 20 files that I really liked, and then I had to call that down to 10, and that was just painful because they were all just so cool. So anyway, there it is. I'm going to go ahead next and hot glue the cover back on right here where that belongs. These are going to bend down inside of there. I just pull these out so you can see them better. So that'll all go together nicely. And I'll put the hanger back on. Actually, this clock is lighter now since I pulled all these batteries out. And all like, well, you know what? I'm wrong. It is heavier because this thing's pretty heavier. I might figure out a better hanging system to make it more secure because I don't want that falling off. Once I do that, I'll put it on the wall and I'll come back and I'll show you all how it sounds and looks. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, I'm back. I've hooked everything up. I've got everything installed, and I mastered the 10 clips that I have that are on the hard disk on the Adafruit soundboard that I installed. So they're sounding pretty good. I'm pretty happy the way everything turned out. Everything's running good. I'm going to get this to the top of the hour a few times and then film it and let you see how it looks for yourself. Here goes.
Something's up with Jack, something's up with Jack. Don't know if we're ever going to get him back.
Okay, there's one. You saw that the lights came on a little bit after 0 came on. That's controlled by the original board. But the new Adafruit soundboard came on as soon as 0 came out of the top. And it sounded pretty good. So let me get it around to another one, and you can maybe I can catch a couple more clips for you.
Boys and girls of every age, would you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. This our town of Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. Pumpkin scream.
Now, that first part of that song was what originally came with the first soundboard. And this isn't the original recording, but I cut that off the Blu-ray disc. So the first orchestrated part is what came with it, and that sounded really crappy. I recorded a new one and added more to the end of it. Some of this actually song "This Is Halloween," so I like the way that turned out too. I'll be back in a minute as soon as I advance the clock.
Was a long time ago, longer now than it seems, in a place that perhaps you've seen in your dreams, for the story that you are about to be told took place in the holiday worlds of old. Now, you've probably wondered where holidays come from. If you haven't, I'd say it's time you begun.
So that was kind of cool. That was the credits at the beginning of the show. I thought that was always kind of cool, so I wanted to get that on there too. Okay, let me get a couple more for you. Okay, you know, that was from the Kidnapping of Santa Claus, or Sandy Claus. I'll get you another one.
What's this? What's this? There's color everywhere. What's this? There's white things in the air. What's this? I can't believe my eyes. I must be dreaming. Wake up, Jack. This isn't fair. What's this? What's this? What's this? There's something going wrong. What's this? There's people singing songs. What's this? The streets are lined with little creatures.
So there's one with Jack singing, a little bit raspy, but I had to figure out the balance between bass and sounding tinny inside that box. So a little bit of rasp is okay for me. So I'll get you a couple more.
Christmas time is buzzing in my skull. Will it let me be? I cannot tell. There are so many things I cannot grasp. When I think I've got it, then at last, through my bony fingers it does slip, like a snowflake in a fiery grip.
I don't know if you heard that little bit of a rasp in there on the midtones or the bass. It's something to do with Jack's voice. The guy who's singing it just kind of makes that happen to the recording. But I'm happy with it. It sounds pretty good. I got a volume control. I can turn it up and down. Let me turn the volume up a little bit this next time. And we'll see how it works. I'll be right back.
When it comes to surprises in the moonlit night, I excel without ever even trying. With the slightest little effort of my ghost-like charms, I have seen grown men give out a shriek. With the wave of my hand in a well-placed bow, I have swept the very bravest off their feet.
So there you saw me playing with the volume control a little bit, and I get it sounding pretty good. You don't really want it blaring all the time when you're walking around. It'll get old. So I turn it down make it sound like background music, and it's really nice. A couple more. Ooh, the Boogeyman. Okay, I got 2 of them in there by him. I thought he's pretty cool. I'll get 1 or 2 more.
Mr. Boogie says there's trouble close at hand. You better pay attention now, 'cause I'm the Boogeyman. And if you wanna shake him, there's something very wrong. 'Cause this may be the last time you hear the Boogie song.
Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I got a couple more in there you haven't heard, but you get the idea. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm going to say this thing is done, and I'm happy with it. I'm still going to hide the power cord here that I don't like hanging down. I'll drill a hole through the wall and take it back through the closet and down and back out. That'll hide that. And as I don't know if you noticed, but as I was working with this, I broke her flower off that she holds, that you might have saw in some of the earlier footage that I have here, but it just popped off. I can glue it back on there. I didn't break it. I just left it off because these things are so fragile. You can see the cat, his tail will be easy to break off. These ghosts on the side, they could pop off. The little guy in front there, I already scraped his nose up a little bit and I had to paint it. He actually came out pretty good. I broke the tip off of this thing, I had to glue it back on. So this thing's been through the mill in a little bit of time that I worked on it. So I'm happy with it. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and have fun. I'm going to put some links to all these parts in the post below the YouTube video, so you can go find some of this stuff. Have a great one. Bye.